Did you know that one of Israel's early leaders was actually a woman? She was one of the judges in the book of Judges, and she was a hero, a heroine who ruled with strength and righteousness and judged fairly. And scholars in the past have misrepresented, mistranslated, and done a poor job of understanding the point of her story. And we're going to fix that here and now. And that's what we're talking about this week. Kindred UMC live show features adults discussing adult topics, occasionally with adult language. It may not be suitable for young viewers. Please use discretion before watching.
Hello all, welcome once again to the Kindred UMC pre-recorded live show, coming to you not live, but pre-recorded from my front room, aka Kindred Studio A. My name is Chris Hayden. I am the pastor of Kindred UMC.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Taylor.
Wait, no, we've been through this. You have to say something. I'm Hannah and
this is Taylor. She's my girlfriend.
all right, technically a thing about you, even though it's about her, but whatever.
I'm Taylor and I like food.
Okay, not very specific, but
all food,
but provable and a fact.
Honestly,
and a true fact. These are real facts about real people. So we are continuing our march through what a series I'm calling Barbies in the Bible. I should have been smarter and coincided this more with the release of the Barbie movie, but we all make mistakes. But we are focusing on.
Hey, you're a man. You can't.
No,
you can't be expected.
You're already in the right mode. So we're focusing on heroines in the Bible, female leaders, because if you've been around Christianity at all, you may have been left with the impression that the Bible is a patriarchal, misogynistic, men are better than women kind of theology doctrine. And I'm here to convince you of the opposite. And hopefully by the end of the series, I will have made my case. And also it's important to know when I say feminist, what I mean is people are equal, period. I don't mean any particular category of person is better than any other.
Yeah, that's not actually what feminism means.
Right.
People just take it.
The actual definition of feminist is someone who believes that everyone is actually of equal human value. Yeah. And I think we can, and if you don't agree to that, then what are you doing with your life? What's going on?
Why are you here?
Yeah, that's like the basic entry point into Christianity at all.
How much respect do you not show to your mother?
Yeah. So before we get into, I want to talk about Deborah, who is one of the judges in Judges. But before we do that, you've been part of this series before, but Taylor, you're new. So I always like to ask, just what's your general impression of Christianity and churchy stuff when it comes to specifically women and like women in power and what's been your impression kind of growing up?
I grew up Presbyterian, so it was like traditional Presbyterian. So not very many women doing the things. One of my great
teachers, also, by the way, happens to be a woman. One of my great teachers is a Presbyterian minister. Yeah.
Oh, cool. We had women elders. My grandma was an elder, but it was mostly men and that whole vibe.
Did you ever get anything from church leadership that was either like pro or against kind of women leadership? Did you ever encounter anything
from a
like
non-denominational church?
Oh,
yeah.
They are kind of famous for that.
Yeah. Not from the Presbyterian Church. I don't remember anything negative.
They were one of the first denominations to ordain women.
Yes.
I won't. I was going to say I think they might have done that before Methodists, which I'm United Methodist. But I think I'm thinking about ordaining. Remember. I think I'm thinking about gay people.
I know my uncle and his wife are both Presbyterian ministers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I know they do it. I just don't know when they do it.
Yeah. and why would you? Like, what kind of nerd is really all up in their church polity?
Not me.
But it's okay. You're really fun to talk to.
Well, that's good. As long as it doesn't interfere with your social life. Okay, so we're going to talk about the book of Judges, which I was, I've been studying all kinds of texts for this series. I was surprised, I don't think I've ever I can maybe remember like 1 or 2 sermons I've heard from the book of Judges.
I didn't even know that was a book.
Yeah.
I knew it was a book. I don't think I've ever
Churches
heard
don't seem to talk about it very much, which is kind of strange. I don't know why that is. It's very entertaining. Like it's actually like, and I hope that this story will prove to be the case. My chair's squeaking. So it's a long text. We're going to read a whole chapter. So I'm going to do it in sections. Okay. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to kind of check in with you guys.
Sounds good.
Okay. So first of all, when I say judges, what imagery comes to mind?
Judge Judy.
Literally Judge Judy.
Yeah.
A woman.
Yeah. Hey, on brand.
A woman.
Although she doesn't actually practice law.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Is she not a
being
judge,
on
judge?
a TV show.
She was though, right?
Yeah, so she
okay.
doesn't actually use her license, and you have to like sign.
Yeah, you have to agree with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, most people when you hear the word judge, if you're assuming you're like an English speaking Western person, which that makes sense if you're watching this. Most people picture somebody with a black robe and a gavel, and they're a judge. That's
or the scales.
Or the scales, yeah, Lady Justice. Mm-hmm. Again, lady.
We'd love to see it.
Yeah, so in the Old Testament, judges were actually rulers. They were it's more like governors or even kings and queens.
Gotcha.
Although it's hard to say kings and queens because Israel is kind of a tribe more than a nation in this particular context. But certainly rulers over thousands, maybe millions of people. That's what the judges are. They're also messianic figures. We use the word Messiah in Christianity usually to talk about Jesus and neglect the fact that the Old Testament is filled with multiple Messiahs. And what all that means is there's a pattern, and it's established very clearly in the book of Judges. So there's, Moses, let my people go. They walk out of Egypt. They're out of slavery. They go into the promised land. Moses dies before the promised land. But then Joshua, his assistant, takes on the reins. Joshua leads them into the promised land, goes on a pretty brutal military campaign, but is like a leader in a military. Joshua dies, and now there's no central leader figure. Okay. And so the book of Judges is this pattern, this cycle of the Israelite people in the absence of a leader. They deviate from what God has asked them to do. They lose their way. God hands them over to one of their enemies, and they are, captives for 7 years at a time or whatever. Then God raises up a judge or a Messiah, or these are all interchangeable terms. Yeah. And one hero figure rallies everybody to go be faithful to Yahweh, and then they defeat the oppressive force, and then the judge dies, and everyone goes back to, and it's just this cycle over and over again. Yeah. And one of them is Deborah, which is where we're going to read that one. So this is from the book of Judges, chapter 4, the whole dang thing, and we're going to take it in pieces. It sounds like this. And there's going to be a little bit of context in the beginning of here. Okay. Don't worry about it. If you're curious, go read the first 3 chapters, but don't worry about it. The Israelites again did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. After Ehud died, Ehud was the previous judge, and now the Israelites are getting bored and going to worship other gods. So the Lord sold them into the hand of King Jabin of Canaan, who reigned in Hazor. The commander of his army was Sisera, who lived in Harosheth HaGoyim. So let me just warn you, there's a lot of names here. Okay. And a lot of the names have meaning, and we're going to talk about it, but I am going to stumble over them.
Okay. You picked the 2 ADHD queens.
Right, perfect. Yeah.
Awesome. We got dyslexia over here, so it's really good. You're the one holding that book.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. Awesome. Yeah, I also have dyslexia. You should talk to my college professors about it. It was a nightmare. Then the Israelites cried out, hearkening back to Israelites in bondage in slavery in Egypt, cried out, God hears their voice. The Lord cried out to the Lord for help, for he had 900 chariots of iron. This is talking about Jabin and Sisera. He had 900 chariots of iron and had oppressed the Israelites cruelly for 20 years. So they're in bondage. They're slaves essentially, and it has been that way for 20 years. At that time, Deborah, a prophetess wife of Lipidoth. We will talk about that phrase. It is not a good translation. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Wife of Lapidoth. So Deborah was judging Israel. She was ruling over and literally making like king-like judgments, ruling on things.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so Deborah was ruling over Israel. She used to sit under the palm of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, and the Israelites came up to her for judgment. She sent and summoned Barak, son of Abinoam, from Kadesh in Naphtali. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And said to him, "The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, go and take possession of Mount Tabor, bringing 10,000 from the tribe of Naphtali and the tribe of Zebulun. I will draw out Sisera." Remember, Sisera is the general. He's the enemy general.
Right.
I will draw out Sisera, the general. Oh, she literally explained it. The general of Jabin's army. Jabin's the king. To meet you by Wadi Kishon. Don't worry about all those geographical things. That's another thing for another.
He's going to meet you over there by the
Yeah,
McDonald's.
go over there. I'll get him to come to you. Bring a bunch of men. We're going to kill him.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of
That's the vibe.
yeah. That's the vibe. So verse 8. Barak said to her, "If you will go with me, I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go." And she said, "I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, the road on which you are going will not lead to your glory, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hand of a woman." Barbies in the Bible. Then Deborah got up and went with Barak to Kadesh. Barak summoned Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and 10,000 warriors went up behind him, and Deborah went up with him. So we'll pause there. So, all right. So what's your take on the story? Ask any questions, summarize it, and ask any questions you need to.
Deborah just kind of seems like I was going to say something.
A boss.
You're allowed to. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not allowed to. You're allowed to.
She's a baddie.
Yeah, she's like a baddie. Yeah.
But not a baddie, because baddie's like a bad guy.
No. Like
She's like
baddie
a-
with an IE.
I.e.
Like,
Oh, okay.
Like
she a baddie.
Is
she's on it.
yeah.
Is this new slang that I
About
hear?
13
Okay.
years, really.
I'm 40 years old. My dog is old, and I'm older.
Yeah.
So she's a baddie.
Nearing 30 though, so we're getting there.
Yeah.
I'm like closer to 20 than anything. So
That's offensive.
Funny.
yes. Yeah, she seems like she's really on it. Like she's like
and
very
Debbie he said
Yeah.
let's go into battle, and she said all right, bet.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Well, so also, what's the one condition that Barak will go into battle?
only
that
if she goes
with him.
Right.
with him.
So, all right, let's just take a minute. Traditionally,
He's like, I need you.
for a lot of scholars, this has been translated and interpreted, and this is like an old interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
No, like real modern scholar who has any credibility would ever do this. But for years and years and years, that has been, see, even the queen needs a man to do the job.
See, I read that as he's not going to do his job unless I
And
come.
so-
with
That's because
he-
you're not stupid.
him. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm like,
because
he was
clear.
like, Mommy, you have to come with me.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's the boss.
Well, so let's talk a little bit
doesn't make
about
sense.
let's talk a little bit about the pattern here, because the writer is an intelligent storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
The writer is doing these things on purpose,
Right.
And so the way that the writer is treating Deborah is like the way that other war campaigns have treated the Ark of the Covenant, which is treated as the literal presence of God.
Okay.
Deborah, the word in Hebrew, means like to speak or like the word.
That's why Nene talks so much. Sorry.
Is she Deborah?
Yeah.
There you go.
You've met her, Nene.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
I only know her as Nene, but yeah.
Yep, she's Deborah.
She's in my phone as Nene because she was asking me for recipes.
I love this funny
Taylor's
song.
Nene is what I think what it is. Yeah. So Deborah is literally the mouthpiece of God. She's described as a judge and a prophet.
That's so cool.
Oh, wow.
And so when Barak, the general of the Israelite army, is like, I'll go if you go, what he's really saying is, I'll go if you
Make that
bring
decision.
God with you.
Yeah.
Because I need you. I can't do it without you, is what he's essentially
Got it.
saying, you know? And then she says, I'll go, but glory will be robbed from you, for Sisera will be handed into the Lord will sell Sisera. I think she says sell Sisera into the hands of a woman.
Yeah.
That's crazy because, like, That's not how it's interpreted at all. Like, this is not how I remember it.
Like, especially even now, just thinking about the fact that women couldn't have bank accounts until like.
Well, and like the fact that she was literally a ruler over Israel, and that's just kind of like left by the side. Like, and now there's a lot of, women shouldn't teach men kind of stuff. It's like, how do you feel about a queen?
Right. I think it's so telling that he's like, I won't go unless you go. Because for me, that's like, he's scared to go unless she comes with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like,
scholars have debated like what that is.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't give any specific language about how he feels about it.
Yeah.
But that was my first instinct.
That's my first
too.
instinct.
Is like he's like afraid to go without her.
Yeah, especially
And he
because
should
she
be.
is like.
she's high up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like.
All right. And so, all right, while we're paused and we're talking about names, here's the other name I want to talk about. King Jabin. So Jabin, yeah, Jabin in English, and in Hebrew it's different.
Yeah.
Maybe Jabin, but King Jabin, that word Jabin is rooted in, it basically means he will hear, or he will learn, or he will understand. And
Interesting.
the irony is, many scholars agree, including me, that the real meaning of that name is like, oh, he's going to learn.
Yeah, like you're going to learn today.
Yep.
And so my interpretation, like I think a better, more modern interpretation of Jabin is King, I'm not allowed to say the F word, King F around and find out.
Literally though.
Yeah. King, he's going to find out.
Yeah.
Like,
King, you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, and like that's what his name
He's
means.
Gonna get got.
In
He's
the
gonna
story.
get got.
Yeah, he's gonna get got. Yeah, right. So, all right. So these are all the meanings of the names, and then we're gonna find a character Jael, and her name means to rise up, but her name's meaning has kind of less fun poetry stuff involved, but it does kind of. You'll see what happens with Jael.
Okay.
Okay. So I just read. Oh, and Barak means light. Oh, there's so much cool stuff in this.
Were you about to say Lightbringer?
So Barak means lightning or flash. And so remember when I said Deborah's described as wife of Lapidoth? And I was like, we'll come back to that. So in Hebrew, wife and woman and man and husband, those are the same word, they're interchangeable. So Is is man or husband, and Esau is woman or wife. So when it says wife of Lapidoth, it could be woman of Lapidoth.
But it could also just be woman. Or it could be
Lapidoth actually is is torch. And I don't know, like, you're just going to have to take my word for it because it's too long to explain, but torch and lightning in Hebrew are, those are associated terms.
Yeah.
And so her general's name is Lightning, and she could be described as the word of God, woman of the torch, which is associated with Barak lightning. And so there's a lot going on here that's like the word of God, woman of the torch, who lights a torch under generals, who defeats Sisera, King Jabin. There's a lot.
I love that.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in this woman that people just.
They're just like,
yeah.
It literally.
I didn't even know.
You give a woman fire.
Yeah, yeah.
You asked me earlier, we had women in power in the Presbyterian Church, but we didn't talk about women a lot.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, because I don't remember ever.
Yeah, there were people women in leadership positions,
but not we didn't go over scripture that was specific to women.
This is what I'm talking about. The Bible is far more feminist than people think it is.
Yeah.
Even women's Bible study groups a lot of the time don't
talk about men most of the time.
Right. It's so wild.
Gotta ask me about that one.
And there are superheroes in the Bible who are women. And we're only halfway through. All right. Okay. And we're going a little long, but so what? Get over it.
We're entertaining.
Yeah.
Keep watching.
Watch it at double speed if you need to.
I was going to say that.
Not double, probably 1.5.
Yeah.
Because Chris does talk a little quick.
I do talk quick. Verse 11. Now Heber, the Kenite, had separated from the other Kenites, that is, the descendants of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, who had encamped as far away as Elon Bezanenemem. I've never been able to pronounce that one, which is near Kadesh. So essentially, there's this other guy who is a descendant from Moses' father-in-law, and it's like another tribe, essentially. Not enemies, not friends, but just... However, the word Heber, or Haber, however you pronounce his name, means ally.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So that's
So they're like
kind of
mutual.
Well, that's kind of this writer loved whoever wrote this story, and this story was kind of
They were like, wow, the symbolism.
whoever loved they love irony,
Yeah.
and so all of the names that mean something kind of have an ironic twist. So just a little bit of a foreshadowing for what the name Heber means. So ally, okay, that's ultimately where it's rooted. So when Sisera was told that Barak, son of Abinoam, had gone up to the Mount of Tabor, Sisera called out to his chariots, 900 chariots of iron, and all the troops who were with him from Harosheth HaGoim to Wadi Kishon. Then Deborah said to Barak, "Up! For this is the day on which the Lord has given Sisera into your hand. The Lord is indeed going on before you." So Barak went down from Mount Tabor with 10,000 warriors following him, and the Lord threw Sisera and all his chariots and all his army into a panic before Barak. Sisera got down from his chariot and fled away on foot, while Barak pursued the chariots and the army to Haresh ha-Goim. All the army of Sisera fell by the sword. No one was left. So essentially, they just kick the crap out of them.
Obliterated.
Yeah. And they get scared and panicked, and the Israelite army just like obliterates them. And then Sisera gets off his chariot and like runs. Yeah, he runs away. Now Sisera had fled away on foot to the tent of Jael, wife of Heber, ally. So Jael is his wife. Okay.
And that's actually wife, not just woman.
Yeah, that's wife.
Wife.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could translate it the woman of Heber, but they're married.
They're married.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. For there was peace between King Jabin and Hazor, and the claim of Heber the Kenite. So they had ally. That's the name ally. So Sisera goes to ally for help. Jael came out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Turn aside, my lord, turn aside to me, have no fear." So he turned, and I always like to read it as, "Have no fear." A little foreshadow. Come on, you're safe.
I'm not going to bite.
Yeah, it's fine. Have no fear. So he turned aside to her into the tent, and she covered him with a rug. Then he said to her, "Please give me a little water to drink, for I am thirsty." So she opened a skin of milk and gave him a drink and covered him. So instead of water, it's milk. He said to her, "Stand at the entrance of the tent, and if anybody comes and asks you, this says, is anyone here? The real translation is there a man here?"
Okay.
And that's important.
Yeah.
That's important for the translation. Is there a man here? Say no. But Jael, wife of Heber, took a tent peg and took a hammer in her hand and went softly to him and drove the peg into his temple until it went down into the ground.
Oh.
He was lying fast asleep from weariness and he died.
Yeah.
It's like a
That'll do it, won't it?
lobotomy, right?
Yeah, she literally knocked a tent peg into his skull.
She was like, "Stay here."
Yeah, don't come in. Have no fear. I won't bite. Pow!
He got.
She didn't.
Yeah, she didn't
Bite.
Yeah. Then as Barak came in pursuit of Sisera, Jael went out to meet him and said to him, "Come, and I will show you the man." This is also part of the poetry. The man whom you are seeking. So he went into her tent, and there was Sisera lying dead with the tent peg in his temple. He was indeed delivered to the hands of
a woman. It just wasn't the one.
Yeah.
Wasn't the one I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so on that day, God subdued King Jabin of Canaan before the Israelites. Then the hand of the Israelites bore harder and harder on King Jabin of Canaan until they destroyed King Jabin of Canaan. So everyone wins.
Except for the bad guys.
Except for, the
Good guys win. Yay.
Yeah. So you brought up a good point. Another use of irony. When Deborah says, "Your glory will be delivered into the hands of a woman," everyone thinks it's Deborah.
Yeah.
Right.
She's like,
No.
No.
So like,
there's two baddies.
She said,
two of
"We're
them."
all cool."
Yeah.
So wait, did Deborah make it out of that alive or no?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I missed that. Okay.
Well, I mean, she goes on. She rules for her
She's
lifetime,
living. Okay.
Yeah.
and then dies.
She probably didn't fight in the battle. She was there to tell them what to do, but she wasn't
the president wouldn't be on the battlefield.
Right.
Like she's the
Sure.
ruler, and she's got a general.
She's just playing chess.
And the general's like, well, you go with me. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, but she
Like,
stayed
I'll
in
go
her
with you and
in her tent with her handmaiden that came with her.
She's like, all right, now's the time, go.
Yeah.
And then they go and they win. And then Sisera runs and Jael is like, oh, welcome, come on in, you're safe. Yeah, and again, so Heber ally. Heber means ally. So Sisera goes to ally for help.
Thinking
he'd be their ally.
ally.
He's our ally.
Right.
Yeah, he's the Israelite ally.
He's like, nah,
he's daddy number one's ally.
Again, there's a lot of irony and there's a lot. And so, all right, so here's the other thing the other language things that are really interesting. Again, some of the misogynistic interpretations of this has been Jael, hospitality is a huge thing for the ancient Near East.
Yeah.
And she was like a horrible hospitality, actor. And like, no. That's not true at all. Sisera is the horrible hospitality actor. He's bringing danger upon his host.
Right.
2, he circumvents the husband and goes to the wife's tent alone. Like, big no-no.
Yeah.
3, he's a war general. There's an implication that he may be there to assault her.
Yeah.
And like, so now here's when the fun language comes in. How does she kill him?
With a tent stake.
She nails it.
Oh,
Like, and that's not lost on the writer. The writer is, and so when when he says, if anyone asks if there's a man here, say no. And what does she give him instead of water?
Milk.
Like, there's all kinds of feminist imagery going on here. It's like
she's like, ha ha ha, you tried.
Yeah, and then so like he may be the one who is the, for lack of a better word, the penetrator. And the war general. Yeah. And she's like, no, have some milk. And then he's the one that gets nailed. and when he says, if anyone asks if there's a man here, say no. And she's like, yeah, there won't be.
Yeah.
It's because there's not going to be, but okay.
Yeah. And then later Barak comes and there's again man language. And she's like, no man. Like, let me show you the man you're looking for.
Right.
Like,
he ain't no man.
Right. Yeah. Like, so Deborah makes a point, like there is intentionally gendered language all throughout this.
Yeah.
It's because sometimes in the Bible when they use gendered language, it just means like Adam.
Yeah.
People interpret Adam to mean man. Yeah. It means humanity. It's technically a masculine noun for grammar's purposes, but that's not the intention. It means all of humanity, mankind, for in a less gender neutral world.
Right.
It means humanity, you know? But this writer is intentionally using like female leader, woman of torches who lights a fire under Barak, lightning man.
Yeah.
Who commands battle and defeats the enemy. And then like Jael, her name literally means to rise up, to profit, to do better, to rise above your station, and she's treated as this like coy woman, and then she's the one who wins the entire thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny that you say that because I was just thinking in the church, especially the non-denominational church I was in, women were made to feel small and stupid and like they don't have a voice and everything like that. And in this story, it's literally like
the exact opposite.
Of like, she wasn't stupid. She knew that was the wrong person. And she knew that they were playing for the wrong team.
Yeah.
And she used her brain
to figure it out.
And
to play against it.
Yeah. And she recognized the gross infractions that he was committing.
Yeah.
Like already. Like within 2 seconds.
All right. Like,
I like I'm not going to rug and not a blanket.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
She's like, yeah, you're cold here.
Yeah. And again, the milk, and one of the other theories about milk is like to lull him to sleep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So two baddies who are.
Love that you learned that term.
So and we've gone a little farther, but it's an interesting story and it's worth talking about. So what are your kind of like takeaways? What do you make of this story after we've talked about it?
Putting decisions in the hands of women is a good idea.
Yeah. I would say definitely any theology that does not include feminine voice in strategy
is missing.
Yeah, it's like
you're
what
missing
are you doing?
Like half the.
You're leaving money on the table, man.
Yeah.
like what are you doing? Definitely that.
It's like
Absolutely.
a 2 heads are better than one situation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can having more perspective and like broader
Because they're scared
perspective
of perspective.
Yeah.
hurt you,
Yes.
rather
it's
than
less power.
your fragile mind?
It's less power.
Yeah.
If I have to listen to literally twice as many more people, because like it's 50-50 about, if I start including women, then all of a sudden I've got twice as many people that I have to do.
Oh no!
Yeah, right,
I have to do my job better.
Well, instead of looking at it the other way, which is like, oh, that's if I can actually be kind and gracious and we can build a community here, now we have twice the level of insight and input and intelligence. And who knows, you might meet a Yael who can just take out the competition like that.
Also, it's kind of crazy because I was just thinking, like, I wanted to be a teacher for a very long time. And it's crazy how teacher is such a woman-dominated field. And I'm just putting that connection together as we're sitting here.
Yeah.
Because, like...
And, like, people are raised that, like, their mom is their person that they go to.
Right.
Who is,
So
like,
it's just crazy to
the
think that,
smart person that has the answers. And then...
So
then religion's like, no.
Well, I can bring in some psychology here. So based on... My background is literally, I've studied to be a psychologist before I was a pastor. So here's the research. There are generally speaking differences between men and women when it comes to like personality and intelligence. But the difference is like 60-40.
Yeah,
it's not that much.
No.
And 60-40, women are more intelligent than men.
Right.
Like 60-40, if you pull out 10 people and you're picking the most intelligent ones, you should pick the women. You've got a better shot.
Literally, the human brain, like a woman's brain is
developed faster.
More developed and for more multitasking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like better color detection, better.
Because you don't know what color
intelligence.
chartreuse is.
Yeah, I don't know.
To be fair, I don't know what color chartreuse is.
I know, honey.
But if we held up two colors that were similar,
I
wouldn't be
He'd
able
be
to
like,
tell the
both of
difference.
those are
You
yellow.
probably would. Like just again 60-40. So generally, now maybe not. Maybe I'll be a little better than you, but that'll be.
But
right there.
Like,
and then so
wild.
here's what it comes down to. Here's the patriarchy. This is what it comes down to.
Knock it down.
60-40. Aggression. Men are more aggressive.
Yeah.
And women are more agreeable. And not, again, 60-40, not that much.
Yeah.
But when you go to the extremes.
And then it can be used
when you're talking about multi-millionaire CEOs or politicians, people who really are like, I'm going to be the #1 best in the world.
Yeah.
If you pull those people out, because of the extreme variance of that, they're almost all men who are being hyper aggressive.
You know what that reads to me? Because we were taught to be submissive.
Yeah.
So if you think about it in the Bible.
The research doesn't really say that.
Really?
Yeah, the research, there is generally, again, it's
I was thinking agreeable.
Agreeable.
Like when you're agreeable and
now, there might be some of that, but the research
You're
seems
taught-
to say
like,
there
I feel
actually
like-
is a...
Because girls are taught more to be like polite and to speak well and to not hurt people's feelings, but like boys are told to hold
boys
their
are boys will be
ground.
boys.
Definitely part of it. Definitely part of it. And I wish I knew more details about the research.
Yeah, I'm like, I really want to go.
A lot of psychological research has tried to kind of control for that.
Yeah.
And the results are no women. I mean, and there's hormonal difference. Like testosterone makes people more aggressive, and estrogen makes people more agreeable. Generally speaking, regardless of sex. You know? Like, and so like there is just, but again, the difference is so minimal that it doesn't really make that much of a difference for the overwhelming majority of the population.
But humans love to pick out a teeny tiny difference. And
it's the outliers. Yeah, the most submissive, like, Donna Reed style, father knows best type of women tend to be that 10, and there just aren't really that many men that fall in that category.
Right.
And then the same way, when you get to these hyper competitive, I'm making partner, I'm going to be the best surgeon in the world.
Yeah.
Like usually what happens is women who are perfectly capable of doing that, they get themselves into a situation where they're like, that sounds insane.
Right.
Why don't I just take a job where I work like 40 to 45 hours a week?
And then I can have a life.
Yeah, I get to see my kids. I get to go paddle boarding. I get to do all the things I wanted to do with my life. And oh, by the way, I'm making like $300,000 a year because like helping out with, somebody's like daily law practice or whatever,
right?
You know, and so that's usually what happens as the men the hyper competitive guys get that way, and then we get these narratives because the hyper competitive guys usually end up being the ones that talk from the pulpit.
Yep,
they're the ones who usually end up selling the message, and the message has been for too many years. Women in the Bible should be silent and listen to the men, and like.
Whereas the Bible literally is like.
And here
men,
we
listen to the women.
Give them a chance.
We have literal proof.
Yeah.
That, like, no. All of Israel in one of its earliest phases was saved genuinely, like saved. Like it would not have survived.
Yeah.
If not, like we would have no Jesus. If not for
these two baddies.
This Deborah, this queen woman who was like, I know what's up, let's go. And Jael, who was, you know, hey man, this is my opportunity. Let me take out Sisera.
Yeah.
Like, and just women willing to act. Women willing to see what's up and act. And the men are like, if you go with me.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'll go if you
Mommy,
go.
please?
Yeah, can you please take
He said, I have my sword.
Yeah, right. So, and God often delights in thwarting expectations in that way. Like that's I relate this to the cross. We want to win by defeating and like raising up an army and conquering Rome and taking down Caesar. And God wants to win by the cross. We want a big bad man general to come in and kill, and like, nah, it's the women who are like, God loves to be like, no. Everyone is called. Everyone has value.
Every single person has a purpose.
Yeah. So I've gone on way too long, but I don't care. This was fun and I liked it. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
Amen. Woman.
Woman.
Barbies in the Bible, guys.